In this video, we're going to create a portal system for our +1 jump per second game. This system will work as follows. The player will reach a specified number of wins, a portal will be unlocked, and the player can use this portal to teleport to a new tower. First, we need to create the portal. So on this little base plate here, I'm going to just create a portal. Design this how you want. I'm just going to use 4 parts. So I'm just going to enable move 1 stud. I'll make this a 3 by 3 stud part. And I'm going to make it 16 studs high. Set it to the color I want. Duplicate this and just keep designing it how I want. I'll get back to you once I've designed it. Okay, there we go. I've got these 3 parts here now. It's not going to look amazing. I'm just going to want to rush through it quickly. Anchor all of these. And now I'm going to add a new part. And this one's sort of going to go in the middle here. And this will be the actual part that the player touches. Like sort of the portal. Well, the portal part, you could think of it as. Now drag this so it's expands the entire way. I'm going to freely move this just because we're going to add some text in a minute and you'll see what I mean. And we just don't want it to run off the part. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But there we go. So make sure your part expands the entire area inside the portal, but doesn't go too far in. Like you can see this blue line here. This means that the part is inside of the border, but we sort of want it to be just inside, not too far. Now I'm going to rename this part here to portal part, just because this is our part in the middle that the player is going to touch. And I'm going to change the color of it. I'm going to make it red by default because the player needs to unlock it. And I'm going to set the transparency to 0.45. 0.45? There we go. Yeah, just so it's a bit transparent. Now we need to add a surface GUI to the top portal part. Well, let me just lower that a minute because we want the top part of the portal, or where you want your text saying what the portal leads to expand the entire way. There we go. And now I'm going to find this part at the top, add a surface GUI, and inside that I'm going to add a text label, and this will allow us to display text on the part. So I'm going to rename I'm going to go into the text label and go down to text, and this will just say Mars. I'm going to make the next tower Mars, okay? So I'm going to do it in terms of planets. Just call this wherever you want to teleport to. And I'm going to scale the text. I'm going to go back to the top, set the size to 1010, and that is all for now. I'm going to go to the surface GUI and find the bit, because we can't see it right now, but if we go around here, it's on the side. But we want it on the front, so we just want to go to the surface GUI, go down to somewhere it says what we want, face, here we go. We want, just try all of these until it goes on the face you want. So for me, that is the right, here we go. So face right is the front. That's just because of the way it's rotated, but there we go, we can now see it. Now back onto the text label, I'm going to make the background transparency 1, so we can't see that white background, and I'm going to make the text white, but I'm going to add a UI stroke to the text, make it a thickness of 3, and now it says Mars. I'm going to duplicate this surface GUI and put it inside the portal part and change the text on the portal part. We don't really need to change it to anything because we're going to do it in script, but I'm just going to set this to requires 5 wins. We'll change this in script anyway, but it's just sort of a placeholder text. Now, enclose all of that up, select all of the parts, group them, so you can right click and group. I'm going to rename this to portal. Actually, I'll call it Mars portal. Mars portal. Open this up and make sure all the parts are anchored. So I'm going to select all the parts and just anchor them, because otherwise they'll fall through the floor. So anchoring them keeps them in position. Now let's create a new tower. I'm going to duplicate the base plate and the tower groups and move them far away. So to do this, what I'm going to do is get the Mars portal and put it inside our base plate, because it is part of the base plate. And I'm going to get our fence and put it inside the base plate as well, because we want everything sort of here to be grouped together in a way that we can just duplicate it and paste it over. And I'm going to put the wind pad inside the tower. Now that we've moved stuff around, it's worth just testing the game, making sure it still works. So I'm just going to hit test and play. I have got a previous save here because obviously we have a data store. So I just want to make sure that everything still works. So I'm just going to go to the wind pad, just click on it again and test that it works. It is a bit of a pain if you don't have any saved. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. It is a bit of a pain if you don't have any saved data. because you are going to have to test the whole thing again. But for the sake of making sure everything works, it's definitely worth it. You can cheat a little. You can just do a play here. So go to test play here at the top of the tower, and then you can just touch the win pad and see if it gives you the win. But that is primarily what we're testing here, the win pad. We just want to make sure the win pad still gives us a win. So I'll wait for us to land down here. Right, now, if we touch this, we should get 7 or 8, sorry. Because I got 2 times wins, that's why. There we go, so it still works. So yeah, I'm going to grab the base plate and the tower, right click and duplicate them, and we're just going to move them very far away so the player can't really see them. Just move it over there we go, it's out of sight now, we can't see it anywhere. And now if we just click on the ones we've just duplicated, so we've got base plate and base plate. So if we click this one, it's just here, so we know it's not that one. If we click this one, it's over here. So if you click it and hit F on your keyboard, it will take you to it in the game. And we know this is the one we've just made because the position is really far away. Now I'm going to rename this to Mars base plate. And I'm going to rename this tower to Mars Tower. There we go. And now I can just change the tower a bit, which I will do. I'll get back to you in 1 second. There we go. So I've just added another block to the tower. Nothing crazy. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I am going to grab the win pad now and just move it to be on top of it. So I'm going to drag it up, turn collisions on as well, drag it across. It looks like it's about in the middle, and then just drag it down. There we go. So now our win pad is up there. I am now going to open this win pad in the Explorer. Open the script and let's have a look. So the jump height equals, so we reset the jump height, reset the, yep, that's all good. The only difference I'm going to change is rather than increasing wins.value by 1, I'm going to increase it for 2. And then 2 in the double wins game pass as well. And the reason for this is we're in a new area now. It's harder to get to the top, so I want them to get double the wins. So rather than getting 1 win for reaching the top, this time they get 2, which is the benefit of going to another tower. And obviously if they have the double wins game pass, they need to get 4, not 2. So that's why we've done that. But I think it's only fair if they go into another tower, they get more wins. So that's why I've done that there. Go back down to our tower, our portal, sorry. And this one's a lot easier, this portal. Open up our Mars base plate and the portal, the Mars portal. And we're going to open up the portal part. And rather than having it red, I'm going to make this green. And the text, rather than saying requires 5 wins, I will just make it say return. So I'll select all the parts. This is all about designing how you want. I'm not going to go too in detail with the designing. I'll grab the text in the top part and just make this say Earth. Now, where we've got this spawn location, let me click that and hit F to go to it. This is in our original tower. You can tell now because we've got the Mars portal here. This is where all the players spawn. So I'm going to grab the spawn location and put it inside the base plate. And now that the spawn location's in the base plate, we need to open up the tower, the normal tower, go to the win pad and change this from workspace.spawnLocation to workspace.baseplate.spawnLocation because we've moved where the spawn location is. There we go. Now let's duplicate, actually we're not going to do that, we're going to close that off and the tower and go over to the Mars base plate and we need to add a new spawn location, but not a spawn location, just a part the player will teleport to, because if we add a spawn location, the players will start spawning on this tower, which we don't want, we want them to spawn on the normal tower. So just add a part and center it somewhat in the middle, like that. I'm going to make it transparent, anchor it on a lock, there we go, anchor it, and turn can collide off, just so the player can't stand on it, they just go through it, and I'll rename this to, just call it spawn location again. The difference is this isn't an actual spawn location, because if it was, players would start spawning here when they join the game. This is just a part we're going to use as a spawn location to teleport players. Drag this inside the Mars base plate. There we go. Now I know that all that modelling seemed a bit confusing, but essentially what we've done is just made a new tower and made the portal designs. Now what we're going to do is actually program the portals. So back to our normal base plate. Let's find the portal here. So open it up, go to the Mars portal, and inside the portal part, we're going to add in a script. Now inside here, we'll say portal part equals script.parent, because the parent of this script is the portal part. Now let's get our second tower spawn location. So I'll just call this second tower spawn, or you could say Mars tower spawn. And this is going to be workspace dot Mars tower dot Mars baseplate, sorry, Mars baseplate dot spawn location. And the requirement here, we're going to create a requirement variable. This will be the wins required to unlock the portal. So I'm going to make it so you need 5 wins to unlock this portal. And now I'll say portal part dot touched :connect function hit. And now this function will be called whenever the portal part is touched, passing in hit, which is the object that hit the part. So the object that hit the part will probably be like the right leg, the right arm, or the left arm. So to get the player, we need to get the parent of that. So we'll say if hit.parent, then, so if the object that hit the portal has a parent, which in our case will be the player's character, then local player is get player, dot players, get player from character, hit.parent. Now we can say if player then, so if the player exists, if player find first child leader stats, make sure you're spelling this all as I am, all the uppercase and lowercase correct as well, or it will not work. If player.leader stats .wins.value is greater than or equal to requirement, then, so if the number of wins the player has is greater than or equal to our requirement, which is 5 here, 5 wins, then we want to teleport the player. So to do that, we'll say player dot character dot humanoid root part dot C frame, uppercase C, uppercase F, equals second tower spawn dot C frame plus vector 3 dot new 0 2 0. So what does this do? Well, the humanoid root part is like the root part of the player, so everything connects to the humanoid root part. So all we need to do is teleport that and the whole player will teleport. So we'll get the player's humanoid root part in their character, get their C frame, which is kind of their position, and set it to the position of the second tower spawn, but we're going to add 2 studs on the Y direction, just so we spawn above it and then fall down onto it. Because if we spawn directly on it, we can spawn in the floor and just glitch out of it. So if we just add maybe 2 studs to the Y direction, we will land on it and we won't spawn inside of it. Now we can close this script up. And that script has handled our teleporting. So we will now, if we have more than 5 wins, we will now teleport. But I don't want to test it just yet because I want to change the text and the red to green if they have enough wins. So how do we do that? Well, to do that, we need to use a local script. The reason for that is if the player has more than 5 wins, we don't want to teleport. We don't want to change their text and the green color or the color on the server in a server script, because then it will change for everyone. We only want it to change color for the player that has it unlocked. So we need to use a local script for that. So I'm just going to do it inside Starter GUI. I'm going to add a new folder. And I will just rename this to Portal Scripts. And in here, I'll just add a local script. I'll rename this to Mars Portal. And in this script, I'm going to say local player is game.players.localPlayer, just to get the player. And then I'm going to get the portal part and the portal text. So local portal part is workspace dot baseplate dot portal dot Mars portal, sorry, dot portal part, and then the local portal text, which is the text we're going to change on the portal, is workspace dot baseplate dot Mars portal dot portal part dot surface GUI dot text label. And we can actually resolve this even better. Rather than this workspace dot baseplate dot Mars portal dot portal part, we can just replace that with portal part. Next, we'll say local requirement equals 5. So again, this is the number of wins required to unlock the portal. We could use a module script for this, but I don't want to get too complicated in this video. So local requirement equals 5. While wait do, if player then, so if the player exists, so while wait do just runs code very quickly, basically, multiple times per second. We're going to check if the player exists. If the player does exist, then we want to check if the player has leader stats. So if player find first child leader stats, all lowercase for leader stats, then, and so if the player's leader stats does exist, we want to check if their wins is greater than the requirement. So if player.leaderstats.wins.value is greater than or equal to requirement, then, I've spelled requirement wrong, just make sure you spell that right, requirement, then we want to change the portal text, and we're going to set this to unlocked, and we're going to change the portal part dot color to color free dot new And I'm just going to set this to a nice green color. So 0, 1, 0.0313725. That's the color I've got written down. You can just type any 3 numbers in here and then change it however you want using the color picker itself. Now we'll do an else. Copy these 2 lines of code and paste them in the else. And this will be requires base, and then here we'll do ... toString requirement. So that'll convert our requirement, so number 5 up here to a string, ... wins. There we go. So this will now say requires 5 wins, or if I set this to 10 up here, it would say require 10 wins. And then we want to set the color to red, which the number I've got written down is 0.164706 and 0.164706. There we go. Now we just got one more script to do, which will return the player. So if we go to close all this up, go to the Mars base plate. So let's open up the Mars base plate, go to the Mars portal and find the portal part. And where it says return, well, inside this portal part, we're going to add a script. It's going to be very similar. In fact, I'm going to go to our other script and just copy all of it. So select it all, copy it, and I'm just going to paste it into here. But we're just going to change a few things. So we don't need the requirement. We are going to change this to first tower spawn. So we don't need the requirement because this is only going to teleport us back to Earth. So we only need the first tower spawn location, which is workspace.baseplate.spawn So if the part is touched, that's the same. If hit.parent, then local player, if player, then we don't need to check the leader stats and we don't need to check the wins. So we can remove those 2 lines of code. Make sure you remove the end statements as well, the end keywords. Player.character.humanoidRootPart.cFrame equals first tower spawn.cFrame plus vector3.new020. That's it. Perfect. So that's it. So now let's test it. So first of all, I'm going to go under my data store and just set this to new data store 2 because I want to test a new data store. Here we go. So we have got an error here. Unable to cast value to... so this needs to be set async in the data store, not get. Just change that to set async. So that's on line 18 in the else part of the if get saved then. That's a mistake I made a long time ago that I should have fixed in the series. There we go. So it's working. So I'm just going to test this. If we was to walk into this now, I've got 0 wins. It says requires 5 wins. If I walk into it, it does nothing. Perfect. Now let's go and get to the top of the tower. It is worth just testing, obviously, that your win pads still work. If you did that as we went along, you should be good. I'm just going to test that they work. I'm not going to get to 5 wins. I'm just going to jump to the top, make sure it works. There we go, nice and easy. And it works, teleports me back to the normal base plate. Now I'm just going to click this current client to go into the server, open players, my player, leader stats, wins, and set this to 5. Now click current server again, and we go back to the client. And now it says unlocked, and if we walk through it, it will teleport us to the Mars area. We know it's the Mars because the tower's longer, and we've got Earth here. I will just test the win pad on Mars as well. So when we touch this, when we get to the top, it should give us, well, my win should go to 9 because I have the double wins game pass. So it should be giving me 4, not 2. So my win should go to 9, and it should teleport me back to this spawn pad, not the original one. That's the sort of things you want to look out for when testing. Here we go, so I jump up, land on the teleport pad. Spawn location is not a valid member of workspace. So let's have a look at this. Let's open that error up. That's because in the script, in our portal script, we need to change this from workspace.spawnLocation to workspace.marsBaseplate.spawnLocation. Now if we test it again, so I'll just walk through the Mars. This is why testing is so important. You just need to make sure everything works. So we'll open this up and we'll just test the win pad again. And then we'll test the return portal. And then what I'll do is you can stop the video here if you'd like, but I'm going to show you, it's going to be very long, but I'm going to show you how to make a second portal, just in case there's some confusion about creating another portal. So we'll get all the way to the top here, touch the win pad, my wins go to 9, and we're still on the Mars base plate. Perfect. Now if we touch the return portal, it sends us back to the normal place. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to go through this a bit quicker. because we've sort of made the basics, but I'm now going to make a new portal. So let me close everything up in the workspace. Absolutely everything, there we go. So we're back to defaults, right? So let's create another island. But before I do that, I want to make a new portal actually. So let's go to our original base plate and duplicate the, it's up to you. So you can either create the new portal next to the Mars one. So you've got Mars, then maybe like Jupiter, and then you can have all your portals on the base plate on the original tower, and then you can also have them on each other tower, or you can have it so they have to go to Mars then Jupiter, or you can have it so to get to the Jupiter portal they need to go to Mars first. I'm just going to do all the portals on the normal base plate and then one on every other one, but you could have it so for them to get to Jupiter they need to go to Mars first. So let's have a look. Duplicate the Mars, go into the Mars base plate, duplicate the Mars portal, not the Mars base plate, sorry, we're on the normal base plate. Go into the normal base plate, duplicate the Mars portal, is going to go on top of it, that's not ideal. Just drag it down, make sure you have collisions on and then it will like collide with the floor so it won't go into the floor. I'm just going to rotate this just so it turns around a bit and just position it how you would like. I'm going to put one just there and I'll get back to you. I'm going to rename this to Jupiter portal and I'll get back to you once I've done all the design. There we go, so I've made the Jupiter portal on this base plate. I'm now going to duplicate the Jupiter portal, and what I'm going to do is go to the Mars base plate and copy the position. So just go to the group, copy that position. Now click on the Jupiter portal group that we've just duplicated, go to the position and paste it in. Now click F on your keyboard and you'll go over there, and this just sends it to that sort of location there. Now drag it over to where you want it. There we go. Obviously, we don't need a Mars portal on Mars because we're on it, or we're on that planet. If you had maybe 3 portals, you would have 2 portals here, but we're always going to exclude the portal of the place we're on because it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's have a look now at, so let's drag this Jupiter portal that we've just duplicated over and put that into the Mars base plate. I am going quite quick, so hopefully you can keep up. Just rewatch the video if you're a bit confused about anything. I'm trying to get through this quite quick because it's going to be a very long video. Now what I'm going to do inside the Jupiter portal, inside the portal part, just changing the, actually we'll make the new tower first. Let's make the tower. So duplicate the Mars tower, which is this one here I think. Yes it is, yeah. Not literally the tower, sorry. Duplicate the Mars tower and the Mars base plate, so we got all of it. Duplicate it and we're going to send it far away. We're going to turn collisions off before we duplicate it because turn collisions off because we don't want it to spawn in itself. Duplicate it and send it really far away. If you reach distance, like the max distance, you'll probably have to start going in different directions. But now if we click on the new one we've just made, I don't know what one's what. So this one's the furthest away, just looking. If you click on it, if we click on the new one we've made, the position is further away than this one. So this is the new one we've made. Okay, so now I'll rename this to Jupiter base plate. And I'll find the tower. So that's this one, and rename this to Jupiter tower. There we go. Now, let's go into our Jupiter base plate. And Earth is going to be our return. And rather than having the Jupiter portal here, this will have the Mars portal. So Mars portal is just the Earth portal. That's just, let me just rename that to Earth portal. And then do the same in the Mars base plate. Rename Mars portal to Earth portal. So for the Jupiter portal, this will just be return to Earth. And then we'll have the Mars portal in here too. So rename this to Mars portal. Now things are going to get quite confusing. The reason we've got the Mars portal in Jupiter is because we want to wait for them to go back to Mars without having to go to Earth then to Mars. Obviously this will already be unlocked. If they've unlocked Jupiter, they're going to have Mars unlocked, but we're still going to do the same script because it's just easy. So just change the Mars portal to be like Mars. So what I'll do is just go into the Mars, into the normal base plate, find the Mars portal, copy the color of the parts, and just change it here, copy the color, paste the color over, blah, 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 blah. Just change the top bit. I'm not going to worry about the text inside because that will change in script. Just change it in the Mars portal, change the top text to say Mars rather than Jupiter. So basically, we've now got a Mars portal on Jupiter. So let's start with this Mars portal. So in the Jupiter base plate, let's just open the script and just make sure it works fine. Second tower spawn, yes, that works fine. Perfect. So we can leave that. We can leave this Mars portal alone. We don't need it. Let's look at the only thing actually that we're going to need to change is the local script. So let's go into the local script in portal scripts that we made here, and we've got portal part 1. I'll call this portal part 1, portal part 1, portal part 1. And then I'll create the portal part 2, which will just be the one on Jupiter. So we've got one on Jupiter and one. So this will be dot Jupiter baseplate dot Mars portal dot portal part, because we're going to want to, and then we'll also get portal text 1 and portal text 2, because we want one for the one on the normal baseplate and one for the one on Jupiter. If that makes sense. I know that sounds really confusing. I do apologise that this is really confusing. The requirement for the Mars is still 5. Just change the portal text to portal text 1. And then we can copy this code and do the exact same for portal text 2. I know it's getting a bit unoptimized now, but it's not very demanding. So portal part 2, portal part 2, portal text 2, portal text 2. There we go. So we're just changing it for the one on the Jupiter island as well. Now let's have a look at the actual Jupiter portal. I think that's everything else before we get on the Jupiter. So let's go to the normal base plate and work from here. Open up the Jupiter portal in the base plate. Open the script. The requirement will be 20 wins. Everything else looks fine. This will be third spawn tower. Third tower spawn equals Jupiter base plate. Spawn location, and rename this to third tower spawn. That looks fine. Everything else there is good, so we can close that. Do the exact same. So actually I'm just going to copy this whole script and paste it into the Mars base plate, go to the Jupiter portal, open up the portal part, open up the script, and just paste it in. It's the exact same code. Now we can close that script. And so this video is getting really long. I'm just being very cautious of that. I want to do this all in one video. I don't want to make multiple parts. Because this was just a suggestion, so this series is over. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I'll get more into that at the end of the video. Let's have a look. So I think that's everything. I think we can close. Oh no, we just need to duplicate the Mars portal in the portal script and rename this to Jupiter portal. Open it up. Yeah, so portal part 1 will be baseplate.Jupiter portal. Portal part, and portal part 2 will be the Mars baseplate Jupiter portal. Portal text 1 will be that. Yeah, that's fine. The requirement is 20. The requirement, yes, that's absolutely fine. Perfect. So that's the Jupiter portal local script done as well. I think that's everything. I think if we now reset the data store, well, let's just keep it the same and hit play. So we've got these 9 wins. So we've got Mars and Jupiter here. So if we try and walk into Jupiter, it doesn't work. If we walk into Mars, it does work. Same thing here. Let's walk into Jupiter and see if it works. It shouldn't do. No, and if we walk into Earth, it takes us back. There we go. I've not changed the tower for Jupiter. So the only way we're going to know if we're on Jupiter is because rather than having a Jupiter portal, it'll say Earth and Mars rather than Mars and Jupiter. But now let me, current client, just change my wins to 20. I'll set them to like 25 or something. Here we go, 25 wins. Go back to the client here. And now the Jupiter portal's unlocked. So we go through there. And we know we're on Jupiter because it says Earth and Mars. Now let's go back to Earth. Now let's go to Mars, then to Jupiter. Mars, and yeah, it's unlocked on Mars. Then Jupiter. Now let's go back to Mars. There we go. Okay, so it all works perfectly fine. The only thing I'm going to test is the win pad on Jupiter. I don't think I've changed anything for this win pad. So I'm expecting it to give us 4 wins and teleport us back to the second island, actually. I think that's all we need to change. So let's give it a go. In fact, I'm not even going to test it because I know we've not done it. So under the Jupiter Tower, Mars Jupiter, what is that? Why have I got something called Mars Jupiter? This should be not Mars Jupiter, but this should be Jupiter Tower. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Open up the Jupiter Tower, go to the win pad, open the script, change this to Jupiter baseplate.SpawnLocation, and everything else looks good. I'm going to increase the wins by 5 on Jupiter, and then 5 again if you've got the double game pass. Now let's test and play, and hopefully we can come to the end now. So let's go to Jupiter. There we go. So we're in Jupiter. And when we get to the top, my wins, because I have the double game pass, we should go from 25 to 35 wins. And it should teleport us back to this spawn as well. So let's just test that out. There we go. So 35 wins, yep, perfect. Resets. We're getting loads of jump height now, and we're back on here because we know we're on the right. We know we're still on the Jupiter Tower because we've got Earth and Mars, and not Mars and Jupiter or Earth and Jupiter. Perfect. And that is it. So if you wanted to make a third portal, you'll just repeat those steps that I've just shown you. It gets confusing, obviously, the more portals you have, but that is just how it is. But hopefully, if you are confused, rewatch this video a couple of times. I know it's really long. I was debating doing this in chunks, but I know this was requested, and I don't want people waiting for it for like weeks just for me to do like multiple parts. So I thought if I just do it all in one long video, I know it's a lot more confusing than if I broke it up, but at least you know, like you can follow this along and you've managed to do it. If anyone wants an explanation, like I said for the previous video I've done for the speed simulator, the previous suggestion, I've sort of rushed through these suggestions, but if anyone wants an explanation of all this code, how it works, if you want me to go in more detail, let me know in the comments. If I just even get one comment that asks me to go in more detail, I will do it, just because I am aware this was very confusing. It was it felt quite rushed, but I've managed to rush this, and it's still, well, raw footage time's 42 minutes at the minute. Obviously, I've got to cut down a lot of that in editing. If I was to stop and explain all of this, I think this video could easily be over an hour of raw footage, which is obviously not ideal. We don't want an hour-long video about making portals. What I'm going to do is, I've got a couple videos planned in the future for unlockable zones. So that's sort of similar to portals, but I will have a couple standalone videos coming out in the future about things like this, related to this. But hopefully you found this okay. Any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and answer them all. Or join our Discord server, link in the description, where we're trying to build a community of future game developers. And I would appreciate it if anyone could join. But you can also ask for help there, and obviously we'll try and get on that. But yeah, just let me know if you want more detailed explanation in the comments. I'll get straight on it. Other than that, everyone, thanks for watching, and goodbye.